Hi, I'm Amy Harbison, and welcome to Seniors Today, a monthly program for those 50 plus in Montgomery County, produced by the Commission on Aging. Scams targeting older adults have been a problem for many years, but they are becoming increasingly sophisticated, with new scams popping up each season. The pandemic has brought a number of new scams that we should be aware of. Here from the Office of Consumer Protection to educate us about these scams is Tracy Rivzani. Welcome, Tracy.
Hi, how are you?
Wonderful to have you. So first of all, give us a quick sense of what the Office of Consumer Protection does for us.
So the OCP is a law enforcement agency, and what we do is we enforce the county's consumer protection laws. And we primarily investigate and try to resolve complaints that our residents file. And we also have consumer specialists who are available to be able to answer questions on a regular basis, 8 to 5, Monday through Friday.
Terrific. And I would imagine there are a lot of calls and questions about these scams. Can you give us an idea about what the current scam landscape looks like, particularly with, I would imagine with COVID, the holidays, all of this is big time for scammers.
Absolutely. The pandemic and any kind of natural disaster is a feeding ground for con artists, and the normal scams have definitely been tweaked. What we're seeing a lot is grandparent scams, but with a twist that there are people crying or calling from hospitals that are raging with coronavirus, or there's been an uptick, a significant uptick in romance scams where folks are falling in love online with con artists and giving out money. We're seeing a lot of fake websites that are selling anything from PPE to, just in-demand items. And these websites don't actually have any products to sell. And we're seeing a really large increase in phishing or smishing scams, which are basically unsolicited emails or texts trying to get you to click on links or open attachments. And the FTC is already warning folks that once the coronavirus vaccine is out there, expect a lot of scams to come as people are paying to get further up in line, which will never really be a thing.
Wow, that's kind of scary. So what can consumers do, especially if how can they be careful about scams, particularly at this time of year? And, what's the best prevention for being kind of caught up in the scam?
Yeah, I think the best prevention is to put pause on sealing the deal. Before you turn over your information, turn over money, do anything, research it, talk to someone you know and trust, and never call on a phone number that you're given. Always research the best number to call your bank or your utility. A lot of scammers give fake information out. So the best information is pause, research, then act, if at all.
That's great. So really make sure that you're contacting the right institution that you trust, rather than going through calling these what could be false phone numbers. That's great. And what about, how can we educate the public more? What can they look at, read, see, so that they feel a little bit more educated as consumers?
Well, obviously they can come to our website because we have an A to Z library of a lot of information, and that's montgomerycountymd.gov/OCP. If you have questions, you can email us at consumer@montgomerycountymd.gov, and you can also give us a call at 240-777-3681. And if you want to actually spend some time and review some webinars, we actually go into much more detail about these common scams on our YouTube channel, which is called Consumer Wise.
Oh, that's brilliant. And when people call you, what's sort of next in the process? They call and they say they have an issue. How does it move from there?
So right now our front phone lines are closed due to the pandemic. The phone number I provided is our anonymous tip line, but folks can leave a message there, and then one of our investigators will call you back answer your questions. And if the idea is that we need to hear more and see more, they will ask you to fill out a complaint, and we can either send you the link and you can do it online. If you prefer to do it on paper, we do have paper forms that we can mail over. And that's the next step. So getting the contact in first, whether it's by phone or email, that gets the ball rolling, and then we can open up a complaint if need be.
That's great. So to reiterate, people should really not trust their eyes and ears, and they should make sure to do their research. It's so important that they pause. I would imagine in these moments where you get a call like this, you feel very, kind of activated and your heart's racing and you just want to take quick action by saying yes and moving forward, but they should really do the opposite, right?
Right. And so the con artists are looking to turn off your brain and turn on your heart. So they don't want you to think, they want you to emote and act that way. So they try to get you within the first 3 to 5 seconds. And so that's why it's really important that you pause, don't turn over any money or information. Gift cards are for gifts. Just if you can keep that mantra and pass it forward, that's probably really wise advice.
That's great. Well, Tracy, thank you so much for coming and letting us know about these really big concerns during this time of year. And thank you for sharing your knowledge. We look forward to looking at the YouTube channel.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Got some soup for you. You are loved. You are valued. You are resilient. You got this.
You're there for them. We're here for you. Find free care guides at aarp.org/caregiving.
Maybe you can make retirement happen. After all, you made her college years happen. Opening that education savings account when she was little. Spearheading a campus tour. And another, and another, and another, and another. Bam! Deciphering financial aid. She was like, what? And now she's like, you aced planning for college. Now get the tips you need to get on track at aceyourretirement.org.
Home fire drills give your family a plan of action. In a home fire, you may have less than 2 minutes to get out. So when you drill, show everyone 2 ways out of the house, pick a safe meeting spot, and get there in under 2 minutes. Then practice home fire drills at least twice a year. You can even make them fun. So everyone knows the sound and exactly what to do when they hear a smoke alarm. Go to ready.gov/fire drill and learn how to prepare your family for home fires.
The arts and entertainment industry has been one of the hardest areas hit by COVID-19. Today, we'll learn more about the state of the arts in Montgomery County during this pandemic and the resilience and creativity of our local arts community. Joining me is Suzan Jenkins, Chief Executive Officer of the Arts and Humanities Council of Montgomery County. Welcome, Suzan.
Thank you, Amy. Thank you so much. Thanks for having me today.
Sure. And please, let's start with this extraordinary time we find ourselves in. And can you just give me a sense of this landscape for the arts and humanities right now?
Well, it's a sobering but hopeful landscape, Amy. Americans for the Arts is reporting over $14 billion in losses since the beginning of the pandemic. And Montgomery County, we did a survey of the arts and humanities organizations that we serve. And in September, they reported a little over $45 million in losses. You take that coupled with the fact that unlike other sectors, some retail stores, some tattoo parlors, hair salons, nail salons that were allowed to open at the beginning of phase 2, arts organizations, presenting organizations, concerts, theatrical productions, they have not been allowed to open. So we haven't been able to enjoy any of the funding from the CARES Act reopening funds because we haven't been able to reopen. There have been some funds that have come to us from Montgomery County government, namely $3.5 million for arts organizations and artists and scholars from CARES Act Emergency Fund, and some funds that we've gotten, about $90,000 that we've gotten from the state of Maryland through CARES Act. And then just recently, a tourism anchor grant for some arts organizations that was over $5 million for those organizations, and some for-profits in there too. But with a reporting of $45 million in losses, you can see that that doesn't even come close to making organizations whole. It's really created an existential crisis.
Yeah, and correct me if I'm wrong, is there an end in sight? Is there any kind of phasing that's being considered for particularly performing arts organizations?
Well, there have been many, many good conversations around how to reopen safely. And our arts and humanities organizations, artists and scholars know how to do that. It's that we have to be given the opportunity to do so. We know what to do and we know how to do it. We understand staging like nobody else. So we understand what it feels like to be 6 feet, 12 feet apart. We understand projection and what that looks like. And so we understand how to protect ourselves and our audiences. Arts organizations and creatives were really, in my view, some of the first that should have been allowed to go back to work, because our creative minds and the way that we problem solve is like no other. And I know that as soon as we move back to phase 2 and 3, and our sincere request that we be allowed to reopen along with other business sectors, we'll be creative and we'll be able to do it safely for everyone.
Yeah, so is this like the arts advocacy push of a lifetime?
I don't think I've ever worked this hard in my lifetime. You know, Amy, while I'm very proud that we've been able to bring in so many funds for emergency funding, and we've done some other really great things too. We've provided technical assistance and professional development. You know, if you're a singer, a professional singer, you're used to walking up to the mic and the spotlight comes on and the sound comes on and you open your mouth and you sing. Well, right now, you also have to learn how to set the lighting, worry about the sound, what about the baffling, what to make sure to protect the sound that you're trying to project without outside sounds coming in. So now we found that not only just individual artists and scholars, but theaters, they have to learn how to produce and make their craft in all new ways. That requires some professional development. And so we've been offering that too, trying to help organizations get to those who are able to teach them how to make that turn, how to make that terribly overused word pivot right now, and to think about how to produce your work in ways that you never had to do so before.
Well, and there are organizations, there are local theaters certainly, and musical organizations as well that are trying new things during this time, obviously because they want to stay front of mind and they need to keep their actors and performers working. But can you tell us about some of the things that have been going on during this time and how difficult it is to monetize and sustain with these kind of offerings?
Right. Well, there have been some incredible productions. Most of the biggest theaters in our area, Olney, Roundhouse, Adventure Theater, Imagination Stage, they've all been able to think about new ways to present their craft. We've also seen some smaller organizations, dance organizations, Kid Museum offering great online offerings for students and for their audiences. The issue, though, is that there is an immense amount of offerings in the world right now that are also free. And so the question is, how do you learn to monetize quickly in this new environment. It reminds me a lot of when I was a senior vice president at the Recording Industry Association of America, and we first discovered Napster. And the idea around how do you begin to monetize something that at that moment seemed like it was free. And so I think that not only do organizations have to teach themselves new ways to present and produce their work in virtual environments, but monetizing it, trying to figure out how now, when you might have charged, say, $100 for a ticket or even $75, what do you need to do in order to make people see the value of your offering when it only seems practical to ask people to pay $10 or $20? So there's so many new business models, new ways of presenting, new questions about how to do that. This has been an incredible time.
Yes. And if the general public wants to be supporting the arts in this time, wants to stay current on the issues, wants to advocate for their local arts, what's the best thing they can be doing right now?
Well, I think that you want to support local always. So if there's a theater or an organization in your community, support them. If you don't go to children's theater, buy tickets for your neighbors and give it to them for their kids for the holidays. Give the gift of music and performance over the holidays. Bethesda Magazine has a great guide to giving that's out right now, and I hope that we'll be able to flash that website and show people where you can go to arts organizations in the area. If you want to know who we serve, you can go to our website, which is creativemoco.com. But if you want to know what's happening and you want to buy those tickets, you want to go to those performances, you want to support those organizations, go to our outward-facing calendar. That's called culturespotmc.com. And you go to our outward-facing calendar and you can see all the events that are happening over the holidays. And this is a great way for you to see and support local during this really difficult time.
Wonderful. Suzan, thank you. We could fill up hours and hours on the relevance and importance of the arts to our community, and it's such an important economic engine for Montgomery County. Thank you so much for being here today and for helping shine a light on the wonderful arts in Montgomery County. Really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me, Amy. It's always wonderful to see you. I appreciate you having me. Have wonderful holidays.
My mother was always very familiar with her neighborhood, but one day she stopped at the stop sign for much longer than usual, and she didn't know whether she should go forward or turn, and she wasn't even really sure where she was at. It was very unsettling for her.
I felt so much better after my son told me, "Mom, I don't want you to worry or be afraid. I'll be there for you, and we'll figure it out."
When I first saw a turtle, my heart was full. Now I'm anything but lonely.
We had this deep connection, this heart connection.
He just wants to be close to you and part of your life.
Every day with Turtle is a perfect day.
When I'm holding her, it makes me feel calmer.
I think everything he does shows how much he loves us.
When we adopt a shelter pet, we discover they're a little bit of a lot of things.
But they're all pure love.
The Montgomery County Volunteer Center promotes and expands meaningful community service in the county by recruiting, supporting, and connecting volunteers and nonprofits, and also offering training support. Joining me to tell us more is Kathleen Meaney Stobie, the AmeriCorps Senior Program Director, at the Montgomery County Volunteer Center. Welcome, Kathleen.
Thank you for having me here, Amy.
Wonderful to have you. So tell me what volunteering looks like in this COVID-19 world that we're living in. How have your roles changed?
Well, we've had to work with our nonprofits and with volunteers to figure out ways that they can employ volunteers during the pandemic, and also for volunteers to be able to volunteer safely. We've also jumped into the whole emergency response in terms of identifying needs for volunteers and recruiting volunteers. So we've worked very closely with the Department of Homeland Security and Emergency Operations to do that. And we've also particularly put a lot of emphasis in working in the food instability area, which is a great, great need in Montgomery County right now, in terms of working with food providers and making connections with volunteers and ensuring that it's safe, the proper PPE and safety precautions are taken to protect both clients and volunteers.
And can you say a little bit about virtual volunteering? I would imagine that no one is working in person, or very few places are having in person without social distancing.
Right. Those that are working in person, such as at the food distribution sites, they do need volunteers there. They are following all the safety precautions in terms of distance, masking, gloves, and contactless delivery of food. Virtual volunteering is where we've had to work with the nonprofits to try and envision how they can continue to engage volunteers without having them go out somewhere, because so many do not want to go out and shouldn't go out. So they've looked at ways that people can perhaps do mentoring online or coaching volunteers, or helping with volunteer programs, running volunteer programs, and reaching out to volunteers to engage them in meaningful and safe ways. So it's mostly work that you can do from home, which actually in a way helps open up the number of volunteers, because sometimes volunteers could not volunteer because they could not get from point A to point B. So this has actually opened up a lot of opportunities for people.
That's terrific. It sort of sounds like it's broadening the landscape, which is really great. Tell me about, I know you have usually tax aid event, really helping a lot of community members with their taxes. What's the status of that this year?
That's a great question, Amy. My program, American Volunteers Work RP Foundation, to bring this program to Montgomery County. In our normal world, we would have done about 4,700 tax returns in a season. However, moving forward, we are trying to work on a contactless or low contact option so that we can continue to serve our clients, meeting all the needs of AARP and the IRS, and ensuring social distancing, et cetera. So we do hope to launch our program in February next year, and we will be offering a virtual option for those who are able to upload their documents, and then we will have a low contact option for people where they may come in for 15 minutes, give us their documents, we'd scan them, and then the returns are prepared virtually. So we are working out all of the details for that, but we do hope to start making appointments at the end of January. And if people want to find out more about the tax aid program, the number is 240-777-2577. And that will start up at the end of January, Amy.
Terrific. Well, we're wishing all systems go for that. That would be great. It's a wonderful program. And
Thank you.
Also, January each year have MLK Day, usually held at the Marriott, but I understand this year is MLK Week. And what does that look like this year?
Well, again, it's mostly virtual. We've had to rethink it all because, as you recall, we've had thousands of people at the Bethesda North Marriott doing projects. So now we are going to be offering virtual options and low contact options and crafts And you can also do donations as well as part of MLK. And we will have all those volunteer opportunities up on our website. And we encourage people to sign up. We'll be making those available the 4th of January, and everyone can sign up. We encourage you to do so. It's a very different MLK, but the commitment to giving back is still there, going strong.
That's wonderful. I'd also like to ask about, I know you have a very popular program, the 50 Plus program, that gets older adults involved in giving back to the community. Can you say a few words about that program?
Oh, glad to do that, Amy. We have the 50 Plus Volunteer Network, which was started up in the Volunteer Center 3 years ago, whereby we are matching people 50 and better with volunteer opportunities in a variety of areas. And it has been phenomenally successful. It is run by 2 of our senior fellows. And we recruit volunteers, they get interviewed, and then they talk about where their passions are. That's what we want them to find, something they're passionate about. Been involved with tutoring, been involved with a consulting with a nonprofit, or they've been involved with office work as well, but basically to keep the organization running. So we've had hundreds of volunteers get placed. And I think the secret sauce is that they work with the volunteer to talk about what they'd like to do. Many people have retired and they've never really thought about it. They haven't had time to think about it. So it's a little bit like career counseling. And we work closely with the nonprofits as well to understand what their volunteer needs are and make them dare to dream about what they would do if they had a skilled volunteer to come volunteer with them.
That's great. Sounds like a match made in heaven for sure.
Absolutely.
I know people are probably clamoring now to know how to get to the website and what phone number to call for the volunteer center. So can you share those, please?
Absolutely. So our website is www.montgomeryserves.org. And the main phone number is 240-777-2600. And because we're teleworking right now, no one is in the office, but we check all the phone messages daily and return all the calls. So we encourage you to give a call or check our website.
Kathleen, thank you so much for letting us know how many wonderful opportunities there are for volunteers and wonderful nonprofits we have in our Montgomery County community. It sounds like it's a great opportunity to match them up to do good work for our community. So thank you so much for coming on today.
It's my pleasure. Thank you, Amy.
Well, that's it for this month's Seniors Today. Don't forget, you can access a great deal of information about county services for seniors by going to the Montgomery County Senior website at montgomerycountymd.gov/seniors or call the Senior Resource Line at 240-777-3000. And as always, thank you for watching Seniors Today.
We scored? Yeah, we scored. We're going to the playoffs. I can't believe I missed that. Every time I'm buzzed, I spend too much time on my phone. What? I should take your phone away. No. I'll call for a ride. Hey, why does my face look like that?
I'm playing with these new face filters.
Okay, you know what? Yep, that's mine.
I'm gonna need that back.
No.
Kevin!
It's a short ride from your neighborhood to your naturehood. To find a neighborhood park or green space near you, visit discovertheforest.org.